administration is shameful. Y'all are a disgrace.
We're watching the fall of this administration.
Yeah, we are. Very appreciative to receive the information today. We have the best mayor ever. I've been here since 1993.
Let's face it, drama and scandal seem to follow Tiffany Henyard wherever she goes. But this time, things have gotten way more personal. Rumor has it, the so-called super mayor of Dolton is being blackmailed by none other than her former right-hand woman, Carmen Carlisle. Yes, the same person who once seemed to support Henyard through thick and thin is now reportedly holding some pretty damaging secrets over her head. And here's the kicker. She's not just threatening to spill the tea in the press. She's allegedly got some receipts that could seriously put Henyard in hot water with the feds. What are these documents? And how did Carlisle even get her hands on them? Oh, it gets juicier.
Reporting for nearly 2 years on allegations of corruption surrounding Henyard in her capacity as Dolton mayor and Thornton Township supervisor. And now we've learned from multiple sources that federal agents are in fact interviewing witnesses as part of a possible investigation that may or may not result in charges.
According to the latest gossip swirling around Dolton, Carmen Carlisle wasn't just any assistant. She was in the room during some of Henyard's most questionable moments, and she apparently held onto more than just the memories. Imagine this. Rumors suggest that Carlisle was asked to destroy crucial documents at Henyard's request, documents that could be at the center of the ongoing investigation into the mayor's alleged misuse of public funds. We're talking receipts, contracts, and even records of some mysterious transactions. But instead of shredding them, Carlisle supposedly stashed them away, probably knowing they'd be her ticket to a big payday later. And now, she's using them to blackmail Henyard for a hefty sum, with the threat of turning everything over to federal investigators if her demands aren't met.
Tonight in South Holland, in a room filled with curiosity and concern, Tiffany Henyard addressed her constituents.
The Thornton Township supervisor and Dolton mayor invited the community to Township Talk, where she responded to our report about her use of the township credit card by mentioning travel expenses. Nate Rogers live in South Holland with more. Nate.
It all started to unravel when Carlisle suddenly flipped from a loyal assistant to a vocal critic. It wasn't just a falling out. It was a full-blown betrayal. Carlisle's recent public statements and her vote to restrict Henyard's access to credit cards and special event funds raised eyebrows.
That's right, Dawn and Terrence. Tonight's meeting had a much different tone than what we've experienced previously at Dolton City Council meetings. Now, the room was full of Henyard supporters, and they wanted me to be sure to tell you that they applauded for her several times as she talked about the township being in a great place financially. Thornton Township Supervisor Tiffany Henyard.
Why would she make such a drastic change? Could it be that she's leveraging her insider knowledge to bring Henyard down? After all, they had been thick as thieves until Carlisle turned on her boss, and now the word is that this feud has reached a fever pitch? At the heart of this drama is the growing tension between Henyard and her former allies. Even though Henyard still parades around as if nothing is wrong, her world seems to be crumbling behind the scenes. Many of her former supporters are distancing themselves, leaving her to face the fallout on her own.
We reached out to the FBI, which said it is policy for the agency not to comment on the nature, existence, or non-existence of any investigation that may be occurring. A public relations firm responded on behalf of the mayor, saying neither Henyard or the village of Dolton have received any subpoenas or been contacted by the FBI or any other law enforcement agency.
And if the rumors about Carlisle's blackmail are true, Henyard is more isolated than ever before. Publicly, Henyard is doing her best to keep up appearances. She's been spotted at city events, hosting extravagant parties, and giving speeches that paint her as the people's mayor. But behind the scenes, she's reportedly frantic, scrambling to figure out what to do.
Transparency about the bills and credit cards. Tonight, Henyard did not specifically mention Washington, but in her last comments, she did address budgets for travel.
You know we have a budget for travel. I can't stand that they just put all that out there so bad for travel. And you should FOIA other cities, other villages.
Sources close to the situation claim she's losing sleep over this, constantly looking over her shoulder, knowing that at any moment, Carlisle could leak something explosive. It's not just about her reputation anymore. It's about her political survival. And it's not just Carlisle who's jumped ship. In recent weeks, Henyard's administration has been plagued by defections. Trustees who once backed her are now either calling her out publicly or trying to limit her powers. For example, Carmen Carlisle, formerly one of Henyard's most trusted allies, isn't the only one who's flipped. Township trustee Chris Gonzalez, who also played a crucial role in tightening the spending controls, has openly criticized Henyard's extravagant use of public funds.
Good evening. There were many tense moments in tonight's meeting. At times, Supervisor Tiffany Henyard took on her fellow trustees when it came to money and expenses, even accusing some of them of spreading lies about her.
Trustees are slashing her access to the township budget, and several events she had planned have been scrapped, leaving Henyard with little to show for her so-called supermayor status. Then there's the infamous party Henyard threw at the Taste of Thornton Township, which cost over $85,000 in taxpayer money that was spent on hiring big-name performers like Keeliot and Jay Holiday. The party was meant to be a show of strength and popularity, but it ended up being a total flop, with barely anyone attending. Critics were quick to pounce, calling out Henyard for her reckless spending.
Staffers also distributed a breakdown of the township's finances from 2017 to current, where Henyard's team says years ago they were in a deficit of more than $2 million. And now, today, under her administration, her team says there's a surplus of more than $6 million.
Carmen Carlisle was right there, watching the downfall unfold. It's hard not to connect the dots. Could this failed event be the straw that broke the camel's back and sparked Carlisle's betrayal? But here's where things really get spicy. As Henyard's political empire teeters on the edge, the rumors of Carlisle's blackmail scheme add a whole new layer of intrigue. According to whispers coming from within the township, Carlisle's demands aren't just about money. Some insiders suggest she's pushing for Henyard to quietly step down and make way for new leadership that might just include Carlisle herself.
I do not handle anything as relates to with credit cards. As you heard me speak today in my board meeting about, I do not handle that.
Some of those charges are for you, though.
No, sir.
You didn't go to Las Vegas? What is that?
No comment.
Could this whole scandal be Carlisle's way of maneuvering into a more powerful position? Henyard, of course, has denied everything, claiming that she's the victim of a smear campaign orchestrated by people who are jealous of her success. In one particularly bold statement, she even referred to herself in the third person, saying, "They don't show you this side of Tiffany Henyard, the productivity." But honestly, at this point, it's hard to take anything she says at face value. The public feud between Henyard and Carlisle has become one of the most talked about stories in Dolton. The two women, once so close, are now locked in a vicious battle for control, with Carlisle allegedly holding the trump card that could end Henyard's political career for good.
Please tell me how you're out of order. You're out of order. How do they operate, trustee?
And if the rumors are to be believed, it's not a matter of if, but when Carlisle will release those damning documents. The tension between the two is so thick you could cut it with a knife, and everyone in the town is just waiting for the other shoe to drop. In the meantime, Henyard's behavior has only fueled more speculation. At a recent city council meeting, she clashed with trustees who are fed up with her spending habits. When they moved to cut off funds for her upcoming events, Henyard lost her cool, accusing them of trying to sabotage her work. "You guys want to just halt things here at Thornton Township because I don't see y'all doing nothing," she snapped. But the trustees didn't back down, and they're making it clear that they're done giving her free rein. This showdown between Henyard and her own board is just another sign of how deep the cracks in her administration have become. The very people who once supported her are now trying to rein her in, and Henyard is struggling to keep her grip on power. At this point, it seems like she's fighting a losing battle on multiple fronts. Against her trustees, against the public, and most importantly, against her former allies like Carlisle, who seem all too eager to watch her fall.
Yep, Ray and Mike, Thornton Township Supervisor Tiffany Henyard wanted the Board of Trustees to approve some events that she wants the township to pay for, but none of the trustees showed up for this special meeting tonight. That left the meeting canceled and Henyard with the floor.
And speaking of falling, it's not just Henyard's political future that's at risk here. If Carlisle does hand over those receipts to federal investigators, Henyard could be looking at a full-blown legal nightmare. The FBI is already rumored to be looking into Henyard's finances, and several sources claim that subpoenas have been issued for records tied to her lavish spending and misuse of public funds. If Carlisle really does have the dirt that Henyard allegedly asked her to destroy, it could seal her fate. It's no wonder Henyard seems more rattled than ever. She knows she's playing a dangerous game, and the stakes have never been higher. But let's not forget, this is just the beginning of what could be a much bigger scandal. As the public watches this drama unfold, it's clear that Henyard's enemies are circling, waiting for their moment to strike. And with the rumors of blackmail hanging over her head, it's anyone's guess how long she can keep this act going.
Keith Freeman sent out the email saying, "No, he's not employed by us." So you have got just this gyration.
And that brings us to the latest development. Henyard's mounting list of enemies isn't just confined to the political sphere. Word on the street is that former friends, even those who once publicly defended her, are turning their backs. This growing isolation has left Henyard vulnerable, with whispers suggesting she's becoming increasingly paranoid, convinced that someone from within her own inner circle is feeding information to the authorities. You can almost imagine her pacing around, wondering who she can trust, and it seems that the answer is no one. As we move into the next phase of this unfolding saga, the question on everyone's mind is, how did it all come to this? How did Henyard go from being the self-proclaimed super mayor to a public figure on the verge of collapse, fighting off accusations from every angle? Now that the rumors of blackmail are swirling and Tiffany Henyard finds herself fighting to keep her political career afloat, the story takes an even more intense turn. But this isn't just about personal betrayal and drama. It's about something much deeper. Tiffany Henyard has been embroiled in corruption allegations for months now, and things have been unraveling for her in a way that she probably never expected. It's not just Carmen Carlisle with her supposed stash of hidden receipts ready to blow Henyard's career wide open. Oh no, this story goes way beyond that. It's rooted in months of scandal, allegations of financial misconduct, and investigations that have been looming over Henyard's head like a dark cloud.
All I can tell you is that I'm not the one on anything. That's the only thing I can tell you right now. So I'm just trying to answer to the.
So you're saying there's a foundation that's not registered, but it has nothing to do with you?
Correct. That's true.
Okay.
That's
so you're not aware of any of the work that they've done, money that they've raised, anything along those lines?
Correct.
Let's rewind a little and break it all down. The first signs of trouble for Henyard came when reports started surfacing about her questionable use of taxpayer funds. Now everyone loves a good party, but Tiffany Henyard, she takes things to a whole new level. Remember that $85,000 blowout at the Taste of Thornton Township event? That's the one where she spent big money flying in R&B singer Keck Wyatt and R&B singer Keck Wyatt and rapper Jay. Holiday for a mini concert, only for the event to be, well, a total flop. Barely anyone showed up. The whole thing cost more than $85,000, with $30,000 going to Keck Wyatt for a 30-minute performance and $20,000 for Jay Holiday, add in expenses for bounce houses, comedians, and staff, and the bill went through the roof. And to make matters worse, the public reaction was less than enthusiastic. One Dolton resident, Jennifer Roberts, was absolutely furious when she found out how much taxpayer money was spent on the underwhelming event. "I was flabbergasted," she said. "I was pissed off. That's my money. That's the people's money." And she wasn't the only one. Many residents felt that Henyard's priorities were completely misplaced, with one calling the event a flop and another describing Henyard as out of touch with what the community actually needs. But this was just the tip of the iceberg.
Tip of the transparency of the supervisor, Tiffany Henyard.
Were there any questions that you have at all?
No, right now I'm going to give her a chance.
And this meeting comes one day after Fox 32's Dane Placco exposed what some are calling misappropriation of funds after traveling to Washington, D.C. in January for a U.S. conference of mayors, according to credit card records obtained.
Behind the scenes, the wheels of a much larger investigation were already in motion. Henyard's lavish spending wasn't limited to this one event. Reports began to surface that she had been using township funds for first-class travel, expensive meals, and luxury accommodations, racking up thousands upon thousands of dollars in expenses, all on the taxpayer's dime. From first-class flights to posh hotels in cities like Portland, Atlanta, and New York, Henyard's spending habits raised more than a few eyebrows. And let's not forget the over-the-top dinners at high-end restaurants, with taxpayers footing the bill. One source close to the investigation revealed that Henyard and her entourage had charged more than $67,000 to the township's credit cards over a 5-month period in 2023 alone. And these weren't just work-related expenses. Oh no! Some of the purchases included personal items like sports apparel and Uber Eats orders. Not exactly what you'd expect a mayor to be spending public funds on, right? Things took an even more suspicious turn when it came to light that Henyard's name had been tied to a number of luxury vehicle leases. Reports indicated that the township had been paying for not one, not two, but several high-end SUVs for Henyard's personal use.
They'll turn up more and more information. They'll turn up more leads. They may turn up more witnesses. They may find a cooperator. They may find an informant, all which will benefit the investigation tremendously.
But based on what we know now, if you're Tiffany Henyard, how are you feeling?
I would be nervous.
The leases for these vehicles were said to cost more than $374,000, and while Henyard insisted that these expenses were necessary for her official duties, many residents weren't buying it. It didn't help that Henyard was also known for surrounding herself with a large personal security detail, including multiple police officers who racked up hundreds of hours of overtime escorting her to various events. Now, you might be wondering, how did this all come to light? Well, that's where things get even more interesting. Former Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot was brought in to investigate the financial situation in Dolton, and what she found was shocking, to say the least.
We went to pick up the cake to offer to our seniors, and they told us, your card doesn't work.
And I stand in the fight because I want the boys and girls of the next generation to see what it looks like to come out of controversy and to come out of all the hatred unscathed. At the end of the day, God gives the test to his strongest soldiers.
Her preliminary report revealed that under Henyard's leadership, Dolton's general fund had gone from a surplus of $5.61 million in 2022 to a staggering deficit of $3.65 million by May 2024. How does a town's budget go from being in the green to deep in the red in just 2 years? That's the question everyone's asking. Lightfoot's report didn't stop there. It also highlighted some seriously questionable spending practices, including the fact that Henyard had used the village's credit cards to make extravagant purchases from retailers like Amazon, Target, Walgreens, and Wayfair. And get this, one of the most jaw-dropping revelations was that Henyard had reportedly spent $33,000 in a single day on Amazon. $33,000 in a single day on Amazon. $33,000, it's no wonder people are starting to question where all this money is going. And just when you think it couldn't get any worse, there's the issue of Henyard's police detail. Lightfoot's investigation revealed that police overtime costs had skyrocketed under Henyard's watch, with some officers earning more in overtime than their actual salaries.
And we've learned the FBI has been using electronic surveillance as part of its investigation. Agents are asking questions about Henyard's alleged use of taxpayer dollars and resources, including massive spending on out-of-town trips.
One officer with a base salary of $87,295 had reportedly raked in $114,800 in overtime pay during the 2020-24 fiscal year. Another officer with a base salary of $73,515 earned $102,077 in overtime. It's like the numbers just don't add up, and people are starting to ask some very tough questions. But let's not forget the looming presence of the FBI. Yes, you heard that right. The FBI has been quietly conducting its own investigation into Henyard's financial dealings. And if the rumors are true, they're looking very closely at those luxury trips, those high-end purchases, and possibly even those receipts that Carmen Carlisle has been holding on to for dear life.
Also named Henyard's top aide, Dolton's acting police chief, along with 4 village and township trustees and 2 of Henyard's relatives who are on the government payroll.
According to insiders, subpoenas have already been issued to gather information about Henyard's financial records, and multiple people, including business owners and former employees, have reportedly spoken to federal agents about what they know. At this point, the stakes couldn't be higher for Henyard. Not only is she facing mounting pressure from her constituents and former allies, but the federal investigation is heating up. And if the FBI gets its hands on the right evidence, Henyard could be looking at some very serious consequences. There's even talk that her arrest could be imminent, depending on how this investigation unfolds. Henyard, for her part, has remained defiant throughout this entire ordeal. She's brushed off the criticism, repeatedly denying any wrongdoing and insisting that she's being unfairly targeted.
Gardner says he's been harassed and his business raided and shut down by Dolton police. He believes because he refused to make a donation to a civic event sponsored by Dolton Mayor Tiffany Henyard.
And I talked to a couple of agents and I explained them what was going on. I gave them all my paperwork.
In a video posted to her social media, Henyard declared, "They don't want to see a black woman in power. That's what this is really about. They can't handle the fact that I'm doing things differently." While some of her supporters might still be rallying behind her, the fact is, Henyard's political future is hanging by a thread, and the evidence against her seems to be piling up by the day. As if all of this weren't enough, Henyard's feud with the village's board of trustees has reached a boiling point. The board has been working tirelessly to cut off her access to the township's funds, placing new restrictions on event spending and credit card use. Henyard has fought back at every turn, vetoing their decisions and accusing them of trying to sabotage her administration. At a particularly heated board meeting, Henyard lashed out at the trustees, accusing them of doing nothing while she's out here working for the people. But the board isn't backing down, and they're determined to hold her accountable for what they see as blatant misuse of public funds. In the midst of all this chaos, it's hard not to wonder what the future holds for Tiffany Henyard. Will she be able to weather the storm and maintain her grip on power? Or is this the beginning of the end for Dolton's super mayor? The clock is ticking, and with each passing day, it seems like more and more people are turning against her. And with the FBI investigation looming large, Henyard might be facing more than just a political crisis. She could be looking at a legal one as well. As the rumors continue to swirl and new details emerge, it's clear that this story is far from over. Carmen Carlisle's alleged blackmail scheme, the lavish spending, the federal subpoenas, there are so many layers to this scandal, and it seems like the more we dig, the more dirt we uncover. One thing's for sure, the people of Dolton are watching closely, and they won't be satisfied until they get answers. So, here's the real question. Will Tiffany Henyard be able to escape the consequences of her actions, or is this the beginning of her downfall? And if Carmen Carlisle really does have those damning documents, how long will it be before she turns them over to the authorities? Only time will tell, but one thing's for sure, this is one scandal that's only going to get messier from here.